Looking at the DxO Mark mobile chart, the Huawei Mate 10 and Apple iPhone 10 are neck and neck with the scores. But what do they pertain to really? This is Rain of Manila Shaker for a camera comparison of the Huawei Mate 10 and the Apple iPhone 10. Before we go to the photo samples, let's have a look first at their specs. For the first image, it can be said that at a glance, there is virtually no difference. Upon further inspection, we can see that on the outside area behind the car, the iPhone 10 shot is overexposed, leaving soft details but putting more emphasis on the car. The shadows are affected, effectively making the red color less accurate compared to the Mate 10's sharper shadows and deeper reds. The next one presented the opposite of the previous image. The exposure and colors are much more balanced on the iPhone 10, giving off the more realistic feel compared to the Mate 10's brighter output. The reds and reflection also helped in achieving the overall detail. Moving on, the interior is well detailed on both, but the reds are, again, richer on the iPhone 10 shot. Next is an HDR shot of an area of a garage with varying lighting. Nothing much can be said other than the iPhone 10 did a better job to keep everything in the scene visible. The Mate 10's effort is still amazing to a lesser extent while also having cooler colors and much deeper blacks. With a landscape shot, the main difference is the color temperature and overall color contrast. The iPhone 10 leaned towards a warmer output this time, which has overblown further buildings details. The Mate 10 kept to a more balanced tone without having to focus on anything in specific, making for a more eye-friendly output including the sky. Now, moving to nighttime. There is not much that can be said about the details, as both had to compensate for the lack of lighting with relatively high ISO. Colors and temperature differ a lot, with the Mate 10 producing warmer tones and the iPhone 10 having colder ones. Next is a wider shot with more background elements. The light sources on the upper right and near the middle did influence their respective outputs a lot, especially their dynamic ranges. The Mate 10 shot looked paler than the iPhone 10 but makes up for it by having more aggressive detailing. The iPhone 10 tried its best to stay flat despite the conflicting variables, and so it did, preserving most of the details. The following image doesn't show a lot in terms of details. Talking about exposure though, the iPhone 10 has a lot more going for it, all the while having a warmer tone compared to the Mate 10's flatter output. Next is a close-up with portrait mode. While the angles may be different, both paint the same picture by focusing them on the same cluster of leaves. For some reason, the details on the iPhone 10 are less clear but having more life with it regarding colors. To top things off, the landscape shots are both amazing, but the colors make the iPhone 10's more eye-catching and better to look at despite seeming to have the same dynamic range. The street lights are made more prominent without overblowing street-level details, and the buildings do get to be exposed a bit more to better exposure. The selfies are more preference-based, considering that the Mate 10 will always output a more overexposed shot no matter the lighting condition. With this, the iPhone 10's result will always look more natural when put side by side with the Mate 10's. Even in low light, the subject's face is made better with extra post-processing for the best possible output without making it look unnatural. It is also notable to mention that the Mate 10 has a wider field of view and much better background detailing. With videos, the iPhone 10 is in a different league, with the capability of recording up to 4K 60 frames per second, allowing for the most detailed and smoothest video possible on a smartphone this 2017. With this, stabilization may come up as an issue, but it isn't for the iPhone 10. On the Mate 10 though, stabilization is only available up to 1080 30 frames per second, which is a huge downer, considering that its NPU can be used for that vital heavy lifting. That being said, details, colors, and exposure adjustment on the iPhone 10 are also much better to a certain extent, making it more ideal for on-the-go filming. Which should I pick? If you're into mobile photography, the Mate 10 itself is a solid option against the much more expensive iPhone 10. The results themselves do differ but on a case-to-case basis, which can be resolved by using the Pro made on the EMUI 8.0. This has been Rain of Manila Shaker. Thank you for watching.